So there are two topics in our syllabus. One is the fluoride shift, and other is transport of oxygen as well as transport of carbon dioxide. And we will start with how the gas transport is mainly taking place. In case of gas transport, there are two fundamental exchanges are the one is the transport of oxygen and second is the transport of carbon dioxide, and we are mostly taking carbon dioxide into our body from the atmosphere, and we are giving out carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. This is something that you have studied for a long time. Maybe in your high school classes onwards, you have an idea of how this gas transport is going on. And importance of oxygen is that it is the oxygen that is helping in the respiration at the cellular level, that is formation of energy or formation of ATP molecule, which are the important molecule that provides energy for various functions in our body. So that process of formation of ATP is what we generally term as cellular respiration, and because it is producing the energy. Now, in the use of this gas transport, we will be seeing there are two important types of transport or important and events in transport. One is oxygen transport, other one is the transport of carbon dioxide. As you can see that oxygen is an important molecule or important gas molecule that is involved in a lot of activities, especially the respiration and metabolism. Now see here, you can see that in the use of an oxygen transport, we mainly see three important steps. One is oxygen intake, and second one is a diffusion. That is, we are taking gas oxygen into our body, and second process is known as the diffusion of that gas from our lungs into your blood. So this is what is happening. Then transport of gases, that is when the oxygen is reaching the blood in the lungs, that oxygen is carried by blood to various parts of the body. For that there is a system, and finally when the blood is reaching the cells or the tissues of your body, this oxygen carried by the blood will be released into the cells. So that is why three processes are showing. One is intake of oxygen and diffusion of oxygen, transporting of oxygen through blood in the form of oxyhemoglobin, and finally releasing the oxygen present in the oxyhemoglobin to the cells and tissues. So these are the events in the oxygen transport. See, coming to oxygen intake, we can see that it is by breathing. That is, we have nose, and when we are breathing our nose, through our nose, lot of air will be entering into your legs, and that air will be containing mostly around 29% of oxygen, and that oxygen is the oxygen that is entering into your blood. And for that there is a process known by the name diffusion. And during diffusion, what is happening is that oxygen in the blood in the lungs is finally reaching certain air sacs, and these air sacs are known by the name alveoli. And from the alveoli, very close to the alveoli, we have blood vessel. So from the alveoli or alveolar air sacs, oxygen will be entering into the blood vessels through a process known as a diffusion. So this is the process which is involved in the intake of oxygen as well as diffusion of oxygen into your blood. Now our main focus is this aspect, how the oxygen is transported in the blood, and there are three important steps for that. One step is the binding of oxygen to the hemoglobin, and you can see that when hemoglobin is binding with the oxygen, that will be leading to the formation of what is known as oxyhemoglobin. Oxyhemoglobin it is a combined molecule formed by the combination of oxygen and hemoglobin. Now in the case of oxyhemoglobin, it is more bright red, whereas a normal hemoglobin without oxygen is mostly purple red or red, purplish red. So whereas oxyhemoglobin is deep bright red. That is how we can distinguish between oxyhemoglobin and hemoglobin by means of color. Then you can see that the most of the hemoglobin most of the oxygen in your body is mainly transported by this mechanism of combining with hemoglobin. That is, oxygen will be combined with the hemoglobin, forming oxyhemoglobin, and that will be carrying the oxygen to various cells and tissues of your body. See here, you can see that 98% of your oxygen is actually carried by your blood or carried by your body through this mechanism. Then here you can see that when the cells are reaching, when the oxygen, hemoglobin or blood is reaching the cells, what happens is that in the cells there is a lower pressure or lower concentration of oxygen, whereas in the blood there is a higher concentration of oxygen, or we say difference in partial pressure. There is less partial pressure in the cells or tissues, whereas more partial pressure of oxygen in the blood. So because of higher partial pressure of oxygen, oxygen from the blood vessel will be diffusing into the cells and tissues. So that is what is shown here. Oxyhemoglobin release oxygen in tissues where partial pressure of oxygen is low or lower. Then you can see that, so this is how the whole mechanism is happening. Oxygen from here you can see that this is the oxygen which is reaching the alveoli. From the alveoli, by means of diffusion, it is entering in the blood vessel. Then you can see that when it is reaching the level of and that blood vessel from and that will be combined with hemoglobin, forming the oxyhemoglobin. Then here also you can see that 3% of oxygen is dissolved in plasma, while 97% is bound to hemoglobin, 97 or 98. So nearly 2% of the oxygen is what is happening with that is that here you can see that this oxygen is dissolved in the plasma. What is plasma? The water portion of your blood that will be containing a lot of water. And here you can see that the oxygen will be dissolved in the plasma, and the plasma will be, or the water or plasma will be carrying that oxygen through your blood to various parts of your body. But that is a very crude mechanism. The oxygen is dissolving in the water portion of the plasma and water is carrying it. But 97 or 98% of the oxygen is transported by a efficient system of oxygen transport known by the name oxyhemoglobin. And that oxyhemoglobin, here you can see that it is binding is reversible. The meaning is that oxygen, hemoglobin can combine with the oxygen, forming oxyhemoglobin, and oxyhemoglobin can split or dissociate to form hemoglobin and oxygen. That is why we call it as a reversible process. So this is an idea, that is, in the case of oxygen transport, there are two mechanisms. One directly dissolving in the plasma, second is by means of oxyhemoglobin. Then coming to the carbon dioxide transport. So in the case of carbon dioxide transport, the carbon dioxide beyond a certain level in your body is harmful for your body. So it should be eliminated from your body, because the carbon dioxide is a gas. It can combine with the water, and that combination of carbon dioxide and water will be producing carbonic acid, and carbonic acid can make your body more acidic. So it has to be removed from your body by any means. So for that there is also a more complicated system of transport mechanism. See here also we can see that the main steps involved in carbon dioxide transport is that one is production of carbon dioxide and its diffusion into the blood, then transport in the form of blood, then carbon dioxide will be released or removed from the blood into the gases present in the alveoli. Here you can see that and carbon dioxide reaching here will be will be releasing that carbon dioxide, and it will be entering into the gas which are present in the alveoli or alveolar sac. So that is how the carbon dioxide transport is taking place. Now there are three main mechanisms by which carbon dioxide transport is taking place, and that is what is shown here. We will see that. See, one is where carbon dioxides are normally produced. That production of carbon dioxide is normally taking place at the cells or tissues. Here it is in the cells or tissues this carbon dioxide are actually produced. So here you can say during the metabolism or cellular respiration, that is during energy production, they are producing carbon dioxide, and that carbon dioxide will be entering into the blood, and in the blood it can either enter into the RBC or it can remain dissolved in the plasma. So based on that, we can see that there are three main mechanisms of carbon dioxide transport, and that is what is shown here. Here you can see that about 70% of carbon dioxide in the blood is transported in the form of bicarbonate ions, and other remaining is transported as carbaminohemoglobin as well as dissolved carbon dioxide. So that is the mechanism of carbon dioxide transport, and we will see that we can see that in the case of carbon dioxide, and what is happening is that this carbon dioxide will be combining with water. See, you can see that in the what is happening is through one mechanism is that carbon dioxide is transported in the form of bicarbonate ion. How these bicarbonate ions are actually forming? Here you can see that this carbon dioxide is combining with the water. See, the carbon dioxide is entering into the RBC. Inside the RBC, carbon dioxide is combining with the water, and as a result of that, in presence of an enzyme known as carbonic anhydrase. So during the presence of or in presence of carbonic anhydrase, carbon dioxide and water will combine with each other. As a result, what we are getting? We are getting a carbonic acid. See, that is the carbonic acid, and this carbonic acid after a period of some time will be dissociating or splitting into what is known as bicarbonate ions as well as hydrogen ions. So that is and these hydrogen ions can enter into the hemoglobin, and what is happening is that this bicarbonate ion which are produced in the produced by the carbon dioxide will be remaining in the RBC. From the RBC it can cross the cell membrane and reach the plasma membrane. Now here you can see that this is the carbon dioxide. So carbon dioxide content is actually received from this carbon dioxide. So carbon dioxide is entering into the combining with the water and thereby resulting in the formation of bicarbonate. It is in the form of this bicarbonate either present in the RBC or outside the RBC in the plasma. Majority of our carbon dioxide is transported. So one principal method by which carbon dioxide in your body is transported is by means of bicarbonate ion. 70% is transported in that form. And second mechanism is carbaminohemoglobin, a combination of carbon dioxide with the hemoglobin. So that combination of carbon dioxide with hemoglobin is known as a carbaminohemoglobin. That is, we always say that hemoglobin is the oxygen carrying molecule, but hemoglobin also has the ability to carry a little bit of carbon dioxide also. That is 20 to 25% of the total carbon dioxide present in your body, in your blood, is actually transported by hemoglobin. So that is another mechanism by which carbon dioxide transport is taking place. Then, as in the case of oxygen, where 3% of the oxygen is dissolved in the plasma, here 5% of the carbon dioxide can stay dissolved in the plasma, and in the dissolved form of plasma or in the dissolved form a little bit carbon dioxide and again transported, that percentage will be coming to 5 to 7%. So here there are three principal methods by which most of the carbon dioxide in your body is transported. Then Then the carbon dioxide will be finally reaching the lungs. How it is reaching the lungs? Here you can see that the carbon dioxide in the deoxygenated blood will be reaching here. In the when it is reaching here, it will be entering into the alveolar sac or air sac, and from the air sac it will be pumped again out of the body through our nose. So that is the mechanism by which this is happening. Then that this one we have studied. Then in the carbon dioxide reaching the lungs will be diffusing into alveoli and expelled during our expiration or exhalation process. So that is what is happening. Here also you can see that what is happening. See, this is the alveoli or air sacs of the lungs. In the air sac, oxygen will be diffusing into the blood vessel or blood in the blood vessel. Here you can see that the impure blood which are reaching the lungs will be pumping out its carbon dioxide from the blood into the alveolar air sac. So this is the mechanism of entry of oxygen and exit of carbon dioxide in your body. So you can see that. Then and there is one important process known by the name Bohr or Haldane effect. Here you can see that. See what is happening here is that this carbon dioxide combines with water forming carbonic acid. Then what is happening to carbonic acid? It is undergoing a dissociation into bicarbonate ions as well as hydrogen ions. Hydrogen ions will be entering into the hemoglobin. Then what is happening with the bicarbonate ions? They will be pumped out. They will be moving out of the RBC into the plasma. See, if you look at the charge of the bicarbonate ion, they are all negatively charged. So when 50 bicarbonate ions are moving out from the RBC into the plasma, there will be a deficiency of minus 50 charge. There is a deficiency of 50 negative charge. That will be creating a negative charge of minus 50 millivolt. So that means so then when this process is taking place, there is a charge difference, and that charge difference is actually developing because of the exit or transportation of negatively charged bicarbonate ion. So there will be a deficiency of negative charges inside the RBC. To overcome that or to balance that, what our body is doing is that body will be pumping, if it is 50 negatively charged bicarbonate ion, a same number of negatively charged chloride ions will be pumped into the RBC, and that process of pumping of negatively charged chloride ions into the RBC is known by the name chloride shift. So that is known. So here you can see that the negative charge, if one negative charged bicarbonate ion is moving out, one negative charged chloride ion will be entering. That means overall the charge will be balanced or neutral. So that is the mechanism of this chloride shift, and this process is what we know by the name chloride shifting of chloride or transportation of chloride. So if 10 bicarbonate ions are exiting from RBC, 10 chloride ions will be entering into the RBC, and this is known as this process is known by the name chloride shift. The purpose of chloride shift is that otherwise what is happening is that the presence of this negatively charged bicarbonate ion will be decreasing the hemoglobin's ability for attracting with the oxygen, attaching with the oxygen. So then another process is that also you can see that in the case of deoxygenated blood or impure blood, it can carry more carbon dioxide. So that is also another, and this effect is known by the name Haldane effect. So Haldane effect says that compared with oxygenated blood will be mostly formed or filled up with the hemoglobin, mostly filled with oxygen, whereas deoxygenated blood has a higher carrying capacity of carbon dioxide, so that will be carrying more carbon dioxide. Then second effect is known as a Bohr effect. Bohr effect says that lower your pH or higher your carbon dioxide content will be decreasing hemoglobin's affinity or hemoglobin's attraction for oxygen. So if there are too much carbon dioxide in your body, that will be reducing the attraction of hemoglobin with the oxygen. That is another problem. Here also you can see that the same thing is explained in another way. Carbon dioxide with water forming carbonic acid. Carbonic acid will be splitting into hydrogen ions as well as bicarbonate ions. Then what is happening is that hydrogen ions will be binding with hemoglobin. Then what is happening to bicarbonate ions is that bicarbonate ions will be moving out from the RBC to the exit. So this process of that is as much as see here you can see that the bicarbonate ions are moving out. They are all negatively charged. So equal number of chloride ions will be entering into the RBC. That entry or transport of chloride ions from the plasma into the blood, into the RBC is known by the name chloride shift. So chloride shift is actually a transport of chloride ions to balance the electrical charge of the RBC. Otherwise, there will be charge difference between when bicarbonate ions are moving out. So finally, before we come to the conclusion, an efficient oxygen and carbon dioxide transporter is essential for maintaining the normal homeostasis or normal mechanism of your body. Then after of this, the hemoglobin has a very important role because hemoglobin is transporting both oxygen as well as carbon dioxide. That is why hemoglobin as a respiratory pigment is playing a very important role in the transport of our oxygen as well as in the transport of carbon dioxide.